who are you? And so, who are we? Here we are, and so, what are we to become? We are close to improvisation here. When lost, we will have to relate appropriately to unknown and changing conditions. The dictionary explains that improvisation means extempore, or out of the time. I suggest that we interpret out of the time in two contradictory ways. I suggest we discard all notions of clocks and the half-life of cesium or celestial mechanics, none of which are capable of improvisation, and equate time with human experience of duration, which is to say the experiences accumulated in life, so that the time will mean who we have become. Out of time will mean that out of experience, conscious or not, there is material for making something. Simultaneously, out of should be construed as aside from. We have to use what we have become in such a way as to not be so controlled by it that it is automatically reproduced. Improvisation is a word for something which can't keep a name. If it does stick around long enough to acquire a name, it has begun to move towards fixity. Improvisation tends in that direction. Birth is not so much a beginning as it is an abrupt change in which suddenly there are different factors than those in the womb. And there is gravity. With gravity, a new negotiation begins, and these terms condition us for the rest of our lives. Gravity is a force, a natural force. As such, it is the deep background of the stories we focus on, which in turn describe our relationship to it. We call instinct, in its aspect of lived intuition, the sympathy that transports us with a gesture affecting a transformation in place into the heart of a unique event that is just beginning, with which our life will now coincide, but whose outcome is as yet unknowable and consequently inexpressible, laced as the movement towards it with supernormal tendency. That may be the best definition of embodiment. The phase shift where image is no longer a mediation, but a pure mediality, this zone of not knowing, because the living knows itself, or rather, it is itself consciousness, before even being felt, or integrated through sensation or imagination. The question is whether or not the self itself is a contemplation, whether it is not in itself a contemplation, and whether we can learn from behavior and for ourselves other than through contemplation. Relation is not union. It is no thing in itself. Relations are always relations of non-relation, as Deleuze would say. Relations are relational. In emergence, not relational as an entre-deux of the already existent. They are the binding agents of the not yet. They will never be known as such, but everything that is known will have been constituted through the singularity of a field of relation. Relations intimate, they hint, but they do not exist as such. This is why a given relational field can never be abstracted from the event. It never was. Relations do not tell the story, they activate it, pulse it into its telling. Relations activate, they tune, they direct a process always imminently underway. How this process achieves itself is not a problem relation poses. Relation can just as well activate a coming apart at the seams as it can weave itself into a continuity.
Ma la notte no, mi piaceva Neruda che di giorno così. Ma la notte no, ribativa Picasso, io di giorno mi scazzo. Ma la notte no, se mi guardo allo specchio io mi sputo in un ecchio. Ma la notte